West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
WADR, promoting dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar and Banjul, 1 p.m. on Abuja. Many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on WADR.org. Welcome to NEWSLINK. Here are the top stories. CSOs in Burkina Faso expressed concern over the deployment of government critics to the battlefield. The Guinean government urges calm as security operatives track down an escapee from the weekend's prison break. NOACSHOD hosts representatives of more than 20 African countries on strengthening the fight against terrorism and transnational organized crime. And Ghana's Vice President Dr. Bawumia faces political fog as ruling MPP's presidential candidate amid an economic downturn.
Given the opportunity by you, the people of Ghana, to lead, I shall govern as my own man with guidance from God Almighty.
Stay with us for details of these stories and more.
Here is Abdullahi Hassan with NEWSLINK.
Many thanks for joining us and a warm welcome to our listeners in Gambia, Ghana and Liberia. Now let's begin in Burkina Faso, where there is a growing concern about the recent trend of the deployment of journalists and civil society actors by the army to the battlefield. Those requisitioned are known for their outspoken opposition to the way the country is currently being managed. In a statement, the Burkinabe Movement for Human and People's Rights expresses concern about the form and the people targeted. Imo Edet has won this report by WADR's Ouagadougou correspondent Martin Kaba.
The information was made public on Sunday. Civil society actors and journalists have been summoned by the army to join in the fight against terrorism. They will be sent to theaters of operation from next week for 1 month. The journalists are Isaka Lingani and Yakuba Lajibama, as well as members of the Balai Citoyen, Bashiru Bajo and Razmani Zinaba, and president of the Democratic Youth Organization, Gabin Korbego. These men are highly critical of the way the country is run by the ruling military. In a press release, the Burkinabe Movement for Human and People's Rights expressed its concerns about the form of these requests and the people targeted. It is becoming increasingly clear that a decree on general mobilization and warnings was specifically designed and adopted not to contribute to the fight against terrorism in our country, but to repress anyone who expresses an opinion on the current management of the country, said the movement, which denounces an abuse of power. Journalist Lajibama has already expressed his opposition to the summon in a post on social networks, saying that he was in the right place to serve his country better. Dr. Aruna Lore, who was in September deployed for a month on a similar mission to Kumbri in the northern region, has still not been heard from. His requisition has apparently been extended.
A report by WADR's Martin Kaba in Ouagadougou and voiced by Imo Edet in our studios. Over in Mali, private technical and vocational schools have embarked on a 5-day strike across the country to press for demand. The porters of these private schools are demanding that the government pay the school fees of pupils referred to them by the Ministry of Education. They are talking about 56 billion CFA francs for this academic year. Pupils in Mali are being sent to private technical and vocational schools when public schools can no longer accommodate them. Sundi Traore, a member of the group of associations of public school promoters in Mali, said these establishments have called for a work stoppage until they receive full payment of the money owed to them by the state. The Minister of Education has yet to react to this call for a strike by the learning institutions. Meanwhile, Cam returned to Conakry on Monday following the attack on a civil prison on Saturday. The search is still on for Colonel Claude PV, one of the main defendants of the 28 September 2009 Stadium Massacre trial. The other 3 prisoners, including former President Musa Dadis Kamad, have since returned to prison. According to the state prosecutor, at least 9 people were killed. during the prison break. Ogebirika tells us more on this report by Cheno Alpha Ibrahim Balde in Conakry.
Conakry is calm again after a weekend of tracking down 4 prisoners who escaped from the central prison. An army operation in several districts of the capital led to the recovery of 3 of the main defendants in the 28 September 2009 massacre trial. Alphonse Charles Wright, the Guinean Minister of Justice, says,
Today, I can still inform the national and international public opinion thanks to the professionalism of the security forces. Captain Musa Dadis Kamara, Musa Kigoro, and Blaise Gumon have been taken to the Central House. And the second thing, I instructed the Attorney General to appoint competent prosecutors of the Court of Appeal of Conakry to open an investigation without delay for presumed evasion cases.
The search continues for Colonel Claude Pivy, the former Minister for Presidential Security, who is on the run with his son. Pivy's son, according to the authority, is the leader of the armed commando group that attacked the prison on Saturday. The Army's Chief of Staff, Colonel Ibrahima Sori Bangura, reassures that the hunt is on to find him.
The General Staff of the Armed Forces informs that all security measures are taken to find the last fugitive, Colonel Claude Pivy. I call on citizens to continue to freely go about their regular daily activities.
The public prosecutor announced that the escape cost the lives of 2 members of the public. He also announced the opening of an investigation to find the perpetrators of the attack on the Conakry prison.
Ogebirika there with that report by Cheno Alpha Ibrahim Balde in Conakry. The Mauritanian capital is hosting a conference on promoting peace and development in the Sahel and the Horn of African regions. The 3-day meeting themed revitalizing the Nouakchott and Djibouti processes has representatives from more than 20 African countries in attendance. As Francis Boniface reports, the objective of the conference is the strengthening of security and intelligence cooperation to aid in the fight against terrorism, extremism, and transnational organized crime in Africa.
The Mauritanian Minister of Defense, Hanana Ould Sidi, declared the conference open by reiterating the importance of initiating the Nouakchott and Djibouti processes in 2013 by the African Union to support the fight against organized crime and terrorism. The minister said the conference is also coming at a time when terrorist groups have intensified their activities in Africa, heightening the humanitarian crisis, including the Sahel. This, he says, must be addressed by the strengthening of coordination and cooperation between security and intelligence services on a regional level. For his part, the Director of Conflict Management at the African Union, Sergio Ba, stressed the need for the establishment of a mechanism to tackle the deteriorating security situation in the Sahel and the Horn of Africa. Ba further admonished integration between the different countries of the continent to limit the actions of terrorist organizations. Many African countries are suffering from unrest and security crises. The Sahel and the Horn of Africa regions are particularly plagued by extremist activities and trafficking networks.
Francis Boniface reporting there.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. NewsLink continues.
As a reminder, we stream live on wadr.org. In Nigeria, an undisclosed number of villagers were killed in the north-central state of Niger during an ambush by gunmen over the weekend. The victims were part of a convoy of food supplies being escorted by the Nigerian military along Pantogori-Alawa Road in the Shiru local government area of the state. Eyewitnesses suggest that there could be numerous casualties, although the exact number is yet to be confirmed due to limited access to the location. WADR's Usman Umar in Abuja completes the story.
According to a resident, Abdullahi Jibril Alawa, the convoy was on its way back with essential food supplies that the villagers had gone to restock. This measure was necessary since the armed group's activities had cut off the village from the rest of the north-central state. Jibril Alawa revealed the bandits had planted landmines along the road, resulting in an explosion when the convoy unknowingly hit them. Due to an ongoing military operation in the area, vehicular movement has become extremely challenging.
There is this military formation in Alawa town that usually when they have scarcity of so many things in the community, they give them security cover, like an escort from Alawa to Pandogari, so that they will go and buy some food items. So on their way this fateful morning, the bandits, whom are in cohort with Boko Haram, laid ambush along Alawa Pandogari Road. They plant mines, which the APC armored personnel carrier rammed into the mines, and it exploded. So there was heavy gun battle between the military and the bandits.
It is worth noting that the Pandogari-Alawa axis of Niger State in the north central, with its vast ungoverned spaces, including dense forests, has become a safe haven for armed groups seeking refuge from military operations in the northeast and the Sahel region. The number of people killed is unknown, as neither the Nigerian presidency nor the armed forces has reacted to the attack on the convoy. Recall in August, a military helicopter evacuating wounded soldiers from an attack was shot down, resulting in the loss of many military personnel and officials. For NewsLink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
Away from security matters, let's take you to Ghana, where President Nana Akufo-Addo has pledged to do everything within his power to ensure his Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, is elected president in 2024. Bawumia emerged as a flag bearer of the governing New Patriotic Party (NPP) after receiving over 61% of the valid votes cast. Yet, political analysts believe the elected NPP presidential candidate, given the state of the nation's economy, faces a significant challenge. WADR's Accra correspondent Nadidi Tite reports.
Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia had 61.47%. So Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is duly elected as the flag bearer.
Dr. Srebo Kweku, Deputy Commissioner of Ghana's Electoral Commission, announcing Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia as the winner of Saturday's polls, defeating 3 other aspirants. President Akufo-Addo promised full support for the Vice President to ensure he wins the December 2024 polls.
I've done my best, but I still have one more task to do, and that is to help Mahamudu Bawumia win the election of 2024.
While some question whether Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia can govern independently if elected in 2024, he says he's a man with his own vision.
Given the opportunity by you, the people of Ghana, to lead, I shall govern as my own man with guidance from God Almighty.
Political analyst with the University of Ghana, Professor Ransford Jampo, says the Vice President's victory is not surprising, but predicts a significant challenge ahead due to his close association with both the current government's achievements and failures, especially the current economic crisis.
Another appeal task he has is how to defend the track record of this current government. Another appeal task he has is how to defoist himself from some of the embarrassing situations of this government, and then how he is able to convince Ghanaians about his ability to solve problems that are not being solved now. Again, how he is able to convince all of us as Ghanaians, and how he clearly shows that when given the opportunity as his own man, he will do things differently.
Ghana will be heading to the polls to elect a new president and members of parliament in December 2024. Reporting from Accra for West Africa Democracy Radio, I am Nadidi.
More on political matters, Liberia's incumbent George Weah and the main opposition leader Joseph Boakai continue to receive endorsements from across a section of the society ahead of the November 14 presidential runoff election. As you will hear in this report by WADR's Darlington Pauper in Monrovia, the incumbent is appealing for re-election to complete ongoing projects and reforms started by his administration over the last 5 years.
Speaking Sunday when he received an endorsement from a section of the Muslim community, President Weah highlighted his current achievements and hinted at his plans for Liberia if re-elected.
We have made strides in education, healthcare, infrastructure, and the economy. But there is more to be done. Let us unite and cast our votes for number 2. Vote for progress, peace, and prosperity.
However, the country's main opposition leader Joseph Boakai, who is in the runoff with WIA, said the president has poorly managed the affairs of the country.
Together we can make history on the 14th of November. That is a day of hope for all of us. We can make things differently by voting for the rescue team, which is the Rescue One on number 1, and save Liberia from the drugs in the street, unemployment, and lack of food and medicine.
For his part, opposition leader Alexander Cummings of the collaborating political parties is calling on citizens to maintain the peace. Although Cummings' party endorsed WIA's second-term bid, the difficult journey ahead is undeniable.
Elections are inherently divisive. But on the other side is a nation we must remain faithful to and committed to building. The road ahead is going to be tough. Change is hard. But like they say, change is the only constant in the life of people. We must never give up on trying to change. We must never give up on our country.
The National Electoral Commission has in the meantime embarked on the deployment of electoral materials to remote parts of the country ahead of the November 14 run-up polls. For NEWSLINK on the West Africa Democracy Radio, I'm Darlington Popper in Monrovia.
You are listening to NEWSLINK here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM, Dakar, Senegal. Here's a reminder of our top stories. CSOs in Burkina Faso express concern over the deployment of government critics to the battlefield. The Guinean government urges calm as security operatives track down and escape from the weekend's prison break. Nouakchott hosts representatives of more than 20 African countries to strengthen the fight against terrorism and transnational organized crime. Ghana's Vice President Bawumia faces political fog as the ruling MPP's presidential candidate amid an economic downturn. Still ahead in the news is the press review, guest interview, and sports update. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. NEWSLINK continues.
We are live on YouTube on WADR News and on social media platforms, X, Instagram at WADR News. Now, loyalists and members of the Côte d'Ivoire Democratic Party, PDCI, have been invited to an extraordinary Congress on December 16. The agenda is to elect a new president for the political institution following the death of Henry Konan Bedi on August 1. With just a few weeks to go, executives and activists of the party have called on Tidjane Cham, a former minister under President Bedi, and a party executive to stand as a candidate. Other party executives are opposed to Cham's candidacy. They said Article 41 of the PDCI statutes, which stipulates that any candidate must have been a member of the political bureau for at least 10 years. Meanwhile, PDCI activists in France held a meeting over the weekend in Lyon, where they launched the Lyon Appeal. They are calling on Minister Tidjane Cham to stand for the party's presidency at the December Congress. Recall last week, 48 of the 65 MPs in the PDCI parliamentary group and a group of senators made the same appeal to the businessman on 31 October.
This is the newspaper review. Stay on top of the news. Get the most important stories with added insight and concise review.
This is the newspaper review.
Very well, it's a Monday and the week is just starting with newsmakers, policymakers and major events setting the ground for debate. So, what do we have on the Nigerian dailies? WADR's Usman Omar in Abuja brings us up to speed with the screaming and banner headlines.
Hello and welcome to the press review segment. Today we have two daily newspapers to take a look at: The Nation newspaper and Nigerian Tribune. Let's begin with The Nation newspaper. Why central bank must bring down inflation? This is coming from Sanusi. Sanusi is a former central bank governor and deposed emir of Kano in northwestern Nigeria. Cardoso, we are changing Apex Bank's policy direction. Cardoso, of course, is the newly appointed governor of Nigeria's central bank. Above the mast headline of The Nation newspaper, you have Nigeria Labour Congress. Imo state government clash over attack on Ajero's village. Ajero, of course, is the president of the Nigeria Labour Congress. Nigeria Labour Congress has since last week declared that it will go on strike over this matter. Naira firm up will continue. This is coming from a financial expert. Nigeria Tribune is leading with the upcoming elections in 3 states of Kogi, Imo, Bayelsa elections. IGP, that is Inspector General of Police, orders redeployment of Imo Commissioner of Police, begins distribution of new vehicles, security personnel. Let's take a look at some of these stories. Federal government reopens Ibadan Airport. The airport has, of course, been closed down since 2022 due to some noticed anomalies, and then repairs begun in earnest. And from this report, of course, the airport is now back in use. Lastly, let's take a look at this. Federal government to raise value-added revenue from 35 trillion naira in 2023 to 45 trillion naira by 2026. This is coming from the budget office of the federal government. And this is where we call it a day on this segment of the show. My name is Usman Omar. It's back to you in the studio.
Politics,
analysis on major news,
social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Our guest segment takes us back to Ghana, where reactions have sprung following the election of Ghana's Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, as the ruling New Patriotic Party presidential flag bearer. Bawumia, securing over 67% of vote, was declared the winner, defeating 3 other contenders in the party's primaries. President Akufo-Addo assures of his support in ensuring that his VP wins the December 2024 presidential election, a task political analysts and observers say is blurry and full of obstacles. Professor Ransford Gyampo of the University of Ghana has been speaking with WADR's Nadidi Tite in Accra.
What he has to do is now about how he has to go about touting his own track record in governing our economy as vice president, touting his own track record in governing our economy as the head of the economic management team. Another appeal task he has is how to defend the track record of this current government. Another appeal task he has is how to defoist himself from some of the embarrassing situations of this government. And then how he is able to convince Ghanaians about his ability to solve problems that are not being solved now. How he is able to convince Ghanaians about his ability to solve problems we have now that are not being solved. Again, how he is able to convince all of us as Ghanaians that things are better now than they used to be before his ascending of the throne as vice president. I mean, it's an uphill task. If he wants to do it, I am sure with unity of purpose and with determination, he can do it. But I want to put it on across that it's going to be very difficult, but doable. And so, on the whole, I think I commend him once again, and I wish him well in his uphill task of commending, because so many people are saying that, look, you are part of the regime, and look, it must be admitted that if you are a vice president, the role that is allocated you by the constitution is quite vague. I mean, you do things only that are assigned to you, and so in that case, it becomes a bit difficult for us to measure what you have done vis-a-vis what the constitution has given to you. But he himself went on to say so many things, or he went ahead to say so many things, and people are now willing eagerly to judge what he said vis-a-vis what has actually been done.
That was Professor Ramsford Gyampo of the University of Ghana. It's now time for sports update. Let's join Sankule Janko.
Hello there, a warm welcome and thank you for joining us. Wydad Casablanca earned a 2-1 victory over Mamelodi Sundowns in the first leg of the inaugural African Football League final in Casablanca on Sunday. An own goal from Rivaldo Kodzi and a superbly strike by Anas Serhat give the Moroccan Giants an advantage to take into next week's second leg decider, CAF reports. Sundowns were punished for defensive lapses, but no, an early goal in the second leg could swing the tie back in their favour. Kodzi turned an attempted clearance into his own net 43 minutes into the game after Monasa's Latimi's dangerous cross-course chaos in Sundowns' defense. Sundowns leveled the scores in the second half while Abdel Monem Boutali converted a 74th-minute penalty after Yahya Jabran's handball, but Wydad restored their lead after Serrat's long-range strike. Sundowns will hope to turn the tie in their favour when they host Wydad at home in reverse fixtures on Sunday. And Côte d'Ivoire's Atletico Abidjan were held to a 1-1 draw by Sporting Club Casablanca in the opening match of the CAF Women's Champions League on Sunday. Esperance Agbo became the first person to score a goal at the new Stade Amadou Gon Coulibaly during the encounter. Agbo scored 37 minutes to give Athletic Abidjan the lead before Najet Gusan Kofi leveled late on for the Moroccans. And that's it for sports. It's back to you.
Sports was brought to you by Sankule Janko. And with that, we've come to the end of this edition of NewsLink from West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mustafa Sek and Maodo Diouf for the technical support. Do interact with us via social media platforms, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, on Facebook, West Africa Democracy Radio English Service, and stream live on WADR.org. I am Abdullahi Hassan. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to NewsLink via Hot 104.3 FM, Newmi FM 94.0, and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate